this is my first attempt at trying to make my own hummus. So as you can see, I already cooked the beans. You can use canned garbanzo beans, but I've been into cooking my own lately, so I tried to do that. I poured out some of the juice here. The recipe that I found I Googled it. It's on our website called Epicurious. Called for 2 cups of drained, well-cooked chickpeas. It says liquid reserved, so I assume that means leave the liquid out. So that's what I started with. Half a cup of tahini. It's my organic tahini from Trader Joe's. Comes with sort of oil on the top. It's kind of separated because the tahini is made from sesame seeds. So I'm stirring it up a little bit to try and get a little bit more homogeneous consistency in it before I try and scoop it out. As you'll see through the video, I've got various family members popping in and out throughout the time. This is me trying to measure in half a cup of tahini. Incidentally, the recipe says put it in a food processor. Well, we've got a small food processor that holds about maybe 2 cups tops, so I decided to just throw everything in the blender, which will cause a little bit more problem for me later. But here I go with my tahini. Trying to measure it out as well as possible. And the tahini makes it pretty goopy, but I definitely wanted to stick with the recipe on that anyways. The next thing that it calls for is 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. I've been buying a hummus from Trader Joe's that has no oil in it. So I figured if they can make it with no oil, I can make it with no oil. So I took some of the juice that I had soaked out of the garbanzo beans, and I poured a 1/4 cup of that in there instead of the virgin olive oil. And later on, I will add a little bit more in order to try and make it a smoother consistency. Now, next part of the recipe is 2 cloves of garlic. I didn't even know what a clove was to start with here. I thought it was the whole head, so I was about to throw the whole head in there. My wife was like, no, don't do that. So instead, she showed me how to do it. We peeled off the cloves and peeled the skin off the cloves, and I got those in. So I think I threw 3 cloves of garlic in just because I like the garlic. Maybe I'll go 4 next time. It also calls for 1 lemon. I used a lime. Limes have a little more potent taste, so I just like that. Maybe I'll go for 2 limes next time. You can see Xander's in the corner there, kind of watching me do the whole thing. And it also called for salt and black pepper. We didn't have any black pepper, so I threw in some of that white pepper. And a little bit of salt. It didn't really say how much salt and pepper, so I just had to guesstimate on that. It called for 1 tablespoon of cumin or paprika. I had never tried either one of them, so I checked them out at Trader Joe's, and I was like, oh, the paprika's pretty, so I decided to try that. But actually, it smells fantastic. It's got that smoky flavor. I told my kids it smells almost like beef jerky, which, if I wasn't a vegan, I would like beef jerky. So I used the paprika, and it's actually really, really good, so I would definitely use that again. You can see both the kids are in there watching. I guess I've drawn their attention because I'm doing something a little bit different here. the final ingredient was, so it said chopped parsley for garnish, and my son was asking me, "Oh, are you going to put the parsley in there?" I said, "No, it's a garnish, and I'm not going to put it out as a dip. I'm actually use this as a spread for my sandwiches." So you see, I turn on the blender and it blends a little bit, but then I'm going to have to go in just a moment with a knife and try and stir things around a little bit to make sure that I get everything mixed in there, because as I said, a little more difficult with the blender than if I were using a food processor, but I can't fit this volume into our little mini chopper. So that might be on my list of things to get. Been checking out Amazon looking for food processors. I felt like it was a little bit too thick here, so I decided to throw in a little more water. In the end, the taste came out really good, but I may want to, next time, I may want to add even more of that juice from the beans in order to get an even thinner spread, because I think it came out a little bit thicker than I would have liked it. You can see the kids are fighting in the background because, well, they can't even, go 15 minutes without fighting with each other. And here I am, blending, 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 stirring again. Like I said, would go much faster if I had the food processor, but it's okay. In the end, it came out really, really good. All right, so now I've finished blending. I cut out a little bit of that just because I had to go a couple more times, stirring around with the knife. I took my first taste there, and like I said, it did come out quite good. Blending it a little bit more here, and I'll just save the rest of the garbanzo beans, save some of the juice, and I'll throw those in my salad later. Of course, you see my son wants to smell everything. Wants to smell the beans, wants to smell the paprika,